You do the gourd stitch?
Yeah.
Stuff like that? Yeah.
That's what I do everything.
Speed rolling? Yeah.
I do everything.
I made some gourds in the past, but man, I'm not very good at it. I just
Yeah.
don't have the time.
I'd like, like peyote gourds, cord dance gourds, dance sticks, you know. Well, I even do lances.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I beat lances. And just that's just something that my mother taught me. She said, well, I'm gonna tell you something, boy. She said at that time I was dancing, and she said, I'm gonna tell you something, son. She said, what it is that whatever you want, you make it yourself. You can ask somebody to make it, you know how you want it and everything, and they can come close as they can to it, but it's not up to your expectations. So if you want to do that, you do it. So come on, I'm going to teach you. And she did. She taught me how to loom work, how to, that lazy stitch and all this and that. So she taught me my moccasins, and so the whole dance apparel, I made my own, you know. And then again, my brother, we used to like tie bustles. I had a brother. I called him my brother, and his name was Billy Bedoka, his kettle, and we used to fancy dance. So every time we go to a powwow one weekend, we get in the contest, but we wouldn't place or anything. So we come back home, and they would break everything down and retie it, different colors or whatever. So anyway, that's how we got to tying bustles and all this and that, you know. So
those are definitely handy skills. I wish I had that background. We just you just didn't. Had to learn later on. Learn it.
Yeah, and see the thing about it is that I grew up around it. I grew up around with my mother. She was one of the very, very knowledgeable beaters, you know. But she just kind of more or less when somebody wanted some kind of apparel or something, they'd come see her and she put it together. Well, like the leggings and stuff like that. Well, she told me, she said, I want you to help me out. So I just had to put the soles on them, you know. So that's how I learned that, you know, men moccasins and women, you know. So with that, that I learned, you know. So
yeah.
Topoi yakoi. That's kind of more or less the interpretation of that. To me, from what I understand, there's two interpretations of that. That's like stands out in the front and medicine bags tied up in a teepee. But I can't, there's really nobody, no elders or anything to tell me. I guess kind of more or less what I'm going to say is like the one that explained it to me was my brother, Oscar Sudel. And he said, that's an old name. That's an old name, Bobby. And he said, so maybe that's what you want. That's what you can tell them, you know. So I said, well, okay. I said, just whenever they ask, you know. So with that, but I'm a 4/4 Kiowa, and my office name is Phil Raymond Dupoint. I was named after my older brother. His name was Phil Bohay, and then I was named after my middle name was after my uncle Raymond White Buffalo, and then Dupoint. Now, how Dupoint came to be is I've got to tell this story. Back in the day when the Solomon Act came together and everything within the Kiowa tribe, well, okay, all the Kiowas, they went over to the agency. They were lined up there and everything, and I guess the registrar there had a Kiowa interpreter there with them and everything. And so when these people would come through, well, then they'd say their names, you know, well, like Saitpahoodle. And they say, well, what does that mean? It kills a bear, you know. So in like Chatkahoodle, well, the proper name is Tzatkahoodle. Okay, it kills at the door. It's interpreted. So that's what they would do. But I guess at that one particular time, I always say when my people got there, well, I guess this interpreter took a break. He either went outside to smoke, drink coffee, or go to the bathroom or whatever. But that's what he did. And so when my people, when they came in, they asked him what his name was, and he didn't speak English. He didn't understand what the guy was saying, And so anyway, so they got to that. So he kind of more or less looked around and said, "Well, okay, well, your name is going to be Joseph Dupoint. So that's what you could be. This is what you." And he was talking to him all that time in English, but he didn't know a word he was saying, And then so he said, "Put your mark right here," and all that. They didn't know how to write it, so they just put his check mark there, or his X there, and then they went on. And then so with that, well then later on, well then these other ones would come in and like Popsiki, spotted horse. Okay, well the interpreter was there, said, "Okay, that's what it means, spotted horse. So your name's going to be Cornelius Spotted Horse," So with that, that's how they got this name, like Spotted Horse, and some people, they still use their Kiowa names, their family names, So with that, but then again, they gave them names, They gave them names. So like John Smith, after a while, John Smith's got an allotment there, and his kids and all this and that, but the original deal of the name, well, that's what he's known by. But all the Kiowas, they all do that. So that's where I come from. I come from, and this Black Leggings. What I've been told is that it's an ancient warrior society among the Kiowas, and their job was to protect the encampment or the Kiowa people, and that's more or less what they do. And at that time, they call them the translation was Black Legs. So how they got there was either riding their horses to rage or across the prairies, and it darkened their legs, or another story I heard is that they built fires, prairie fires, or had prairie fires, and they rode through them, and that's how they got back. But the thing is that it's a warrior society. And then so with that, well, it's been coming on all these years, and they dance in different areas, wherever they can. Well, kind of more or less like the main thing for all Kiowas was during the Sundance. We were Sundance people at one time. And of course, we don't practice that and everything. Well, the reason why is because the old people said, well, there's probably going to be some, well, then the government made us stop. Like over in Carnegie, there's a place called Piot. That's where our last Sundance was. And so with that, they would always send a detachment of soldiers out to stop us in it, all because of what the Sioux and the Cheyenne did to Custer up there. They were scared that it was going to happen down here with us and the other tribes here at that time. And so with that, they made us cease. And so I guess our old people, they would just kind of get tired of it. Every time we try to do something and everything, here come the soldiers and all this and that. So they just kind of, there's the last Sundance, we never did finish up. We never did finish that last Sundance up. So they said, well, okay, let's put it down. Let's go ahead. We just, maybe, they said, high up, though, somewhere down the line, we'll come back and we'll pick it up,
What year was that?
Oh, God, that was
91?
Well, yeah, I'm going to say, 91, up in that 1891 in that area. So with that, well, then that's why we ceased. But a lot of us, like myself, I still go, but I go among the Cheyennes. And the thing about it is that, okay, we had this ethnologist and anthropologist. His name was James Mooney. And he came down from D.C. with the Smithsonian and everything. And he more or less kind of took everything. He record. Well, they didn't have recorders back then, but he wrote books out and all this and that. So he documented everything that we as Kiowas have, And so with that, I'm glad he did, because some of that is verbal. It's passed on, handed on, and all this and that. But then again, you look at this book, like what he has, what was it that? It's Kiowa. Okay, then you look in there and it references different things, and all that, so you can kind of more or less find. So with that, well, then that's well, I'm gonna say that was kind of like a lifesaver for us, So with that, I mean, we've got these authors that write, but they can write what they want, what they see, and how they think things are, As far as documenting and writing about cows, well, he was the only one that kind of stayed right, kind of pretty well. He stayed pretty close to, and the thing about it is that it's because the elders, they told him, so they said. So it's through him that it comes back to us. And so with that, then after that, well, then there was like modern day times. There's a gentleman out of Missouri State. His name is Dr. Bill Meadows, and he wrote about our warrior societies and stuff like that. And he came around, and he's interviewed me, and I've talked to him about. And so with that, anybody that wants to know anything, I said, well, I recommend that book to them, to find out. But then again, there's probably some stuff that you just have to be there. You just have to be there. And one of the things that I'm glad, well, like Bacone College gave me a doctorate degree, honorary doctorate degree. And they based it on my knowledge of the Kiowas and all this and that, And at first, I kind of, see, I'm just a high school guy as far as my education went. But then again, I got to looking at it, I called one of my brothers up, and I asked him, he went to school and everything, and he's a doctor. And different ones I know that I see. And I asked him, what do you all think, or whatever. They said, no, you don't understand. You had the best classroom there is, and you had the best teachers that there are, and that was the elders. As far as any kind of education or whatever, but the knowledge that you have and that you listen to, it's deserving. And they said, we're glad that the Bacone people, their board of directors, they voted for you and everything, so you were nominated, and so that's what they gave you. And so with that, I said, okay. Then I felt a whole lot better about it, But then again, I guess some educators or whatever, they said they used the title and everything, but I'm just Joe Fish, and Joe Fish is another story, though. But anyway, we'll get back to the Black Leggings. So as they were coming along, well then, okay, their dress was just plain. I guess they had buckskin leggings on, or their aprons on, or whatever, and then that was it. Then from the waist on up, they had their belts or their sashes, and then they'd fix breastplates. But what this Tonkonga, this black leggings, is kind of more or less geared after the Coit single. 10 bravest. There was only 10, just 10 bravest men within the tribe. And then when one of them passed on, well then they kind of more or less studied you, and then you were the next, But the last, I guess, kind of like they kind of slowly started fading out, because I'm going to say one of the last ones was Saint Anya, Sitting Bear. And when they was taking them down to prison down there in Huntsville or Texas, well, then he said, see that tree? Well, he was talking to his guards. But they didn't know what he was talking about either because he was talking Kiowa. He said, see that tree over there? He said, I'm not going to make it past that tree. And sure enough, he got to that tree and he produced that knife. But from what I understand and what I believe is back then, these older men, I don't want to call them medicine men, but these older men, they had power. They had power that the Almighty gave them. So he produced this knife, and it come from in here. It come from there, and then he got onto the driver. Then the others, they just shot him right there, killed him right there. He fell, and when he fell by that tree. And so with that, well then he was. I'm going to say he was kind of like one of the last of the Coit single. But then again, I guess there might have been some others that were members of it, and they came to him, but then they just kind of slowly faded out. And then so with that, well then this Tone Conga, that's where it come from, those guys. And so it's been coming along this year, all this time, and like now they have certain songs that for certain occasions that they use, but then they came down to, during this lull time, this time when they ceased. Well, then after that, then that's when World War II started. And then my uncles, they went overseas, and along with, World War I. I'm very happy about World War I because my grandpa, there was 15 Kiowas, I understand. 5 of them signed up, and 10 of them were drafted. And what it was, there was a lull there after the Red River Wars. There was a lull there, to where I guess kind of more or less you wanted honors or to be somebody or something, But there was just that peacetime there, or that time we surrendered. So with that, and then when the war came, well, then these guys, they wanted kind of more or less to be titles, so they signed up, they joined, they got drafted. So they went over there. They went to Germany and they fought. And then they came back. Okay, I had 2 grandpas. Of course, they're all my relatives, but I had 2 grandpas. One was Lon Opitone, Lon Cobbin, and then Herbert Dupoint. Okay, they were over there. So when they came back, and then they came from wherever they were stationed at, they came into Carnegie, but they were on a train. And at that time in Carnegie, there used to be a train station depot there. Well, I guess when the home people, when they found out, well, they all went. They went over there because they wanted to see them. They heard they were coming home, so they came in on that train. And as soon as they came out of that train, well, them women, they lulu'd, and the men hollered. And at that time, they sang a victory song and they danced. They danced at that time. And then after that, they got them 2 guys and they put them in a wagon and they went out to Opitones. And they got out to Opitones, well, they turned around and they danced 4 days. And there was Opitone had a sister. Her name was Mattie Miyako. Okay, so she told him, old man, she said, well, I've got something here for y'all. And so I want to know what y'all think about it, but we're going to use it. So they had this flag. And just think, back in the day, we fought against this flag. We fought it because they invaded our land. We didn't know anything about it, but we did. But then we turned around, and them guys, they went and they defended it. They defended this flag. And so with that, well, then she got a scalp dance song. And she put the words in there, Tanka old Tago, Betayan Hagu. Raise that flag, nice, it's been to war and all this, that, And so they said, respect this. So at that time, that's where the Kiowa flag song came from. And that's what was it? When was that war? 1918, somewhere along in there. So anyway, that's that song, and we use it still to this day. But that's the history of this flag song. That's what I've been told, and the one that told me about it was my uncle Frank Colvin, and that was Lon's son. See, so with that, it's just kind of he was my mother's cousin, so that's why I call him Uncle. And he's a composer. He composed some songs for here that we use, And like there's one song that he talks about. He talks about this flag, and that it's on the moon, standing there like a soldier. He said just that's his thinking. That's what came to him. We got this flag, so there's a lot in this flag that we have now, that we honor now this day. And so with that, well, then that's how we start our program out. With that, then later on, Leonard Kozad, Sr., he made a flag song for this organization, and it tells them, tells the black ladies to stand up and honor this flag. Y'all fought for this flag, So that was the interpretation of that, And then after that, well, then that's when they kind of more or less, they have their, we have what we call, I don't like to call it, I don't want to say memorial songs, but in a sense they were made for different individuals, and we use them here. And one was made by Jimmy Ankew. He was a great composer of our Kiowa tribe. And then the Goolittles, okay? And so with that, well, then we sing those songs afterwards. And then after that, well, when we get done with that, well, then we have what we call a processional. And that's where all our in that processional, we had Kiowa women that joined back then. At that time, there was wax and things like that, So they would come back, but when they got out of the service, they put their uniforms away and they went back to being Kiowa women. They went back to being Kiowa women, So anyway, with that, well then, like my uncles and them, they honored them. And then so they would kind of more or less put them at the head of they'd have their colors coming in, and they put them at the head to recognize them, But then again, I kind of got off a little bit, but then when bringing this black leggings back. Well, back then, after World War II, when Gus and Dixon and George and them got home, well, this old man, Bert Gigamall, he was a vital. He was an important man to me within our Kiowas. Well, he told Gus and them, y'all, there's a society, told him about this. Y'all been over, y'all went to war, y'all need to revive it, y'all need to bring it back. And so with that, well then, the story is that down here at the Indian Fair, here in Anadarko, the following year, when they revived the gourd dance, well then next year they revived this black legging. Well, they danced down there. And their dress at that time, well, from my understanding, there's this old man, there's a warrior named Guili, red cape. Okay, so what he did was they went on a raid down there in Mexico, and they was fighting the Mexicans and everything. Anyway, up there on the hill, he seen this Mexican general or whatever. He had a red cape on, and he had a sword. And he's sitting on his horses watching his men fight and everything. So he said, I want that. So he went up there and he killed him. And took his cape, took his sword, and so those were like war trophies for him, Then he brought him back, and then after a while, his people, they just kind of, well, that one cape. And then after a while, they started making capes, and then they turned around, and I'm gonna say the Ancu family. They were the Keybones and then the Ancus. So what they did was at that time, what was his name? Kenneth Ancu. They used to, well, it was just kind of like a family deal for them. They dressed and they danced and all that up there, Tulsa, where they lived. And so with that, well, then they turned around and they gave the black leggings the permission to wear that cape, so that's where that red cape come from. And then so with that, well, then there's a song that talks about Gueli and what he did, this red cape and everything. So with that, that's kind of like one of the songs that we like to sing, Well, I like to sing, And so that's how the red cape came about. And then, of course, with that, well, then the Lancers, and, well, I guess the guy that's sitting there with the general or whoever it was, them Mexican soldiers, they had long lances, I guess. Well, anyway, he got that too, so that's where the lance comes from, So there's just different things that, well, like now, and so that's where I guess the black shawl that represents the black legs. Of course, they wear their socks, all that. So that's how the dress is, And there's only one way you're going to be a member of this Tonkonga, this black legs. Number one, you got to be a member of the military. Number two, you got to have an honorable discharge, okay? And then number three, you got to be an enrolled member of the Kiowa tribe. That's the only way. Modern times, that's the only way. Back then, it was kind of more or less hereditary, But that's the stipulations that my uncles put in there and all this and that. Then they got different individuals to serve different positions and all this. And so that's how, well, it's kind of like what we are today, And so with that, well, then when they come in, and like I was saying, like our women folk, okay. Now there's the thing about women. There's nothing that can go on anywhere unless the women's behind you. They play a vital role, I guess, in your doings. Us men folk, we're leaders, we're this and that, but why? Because of these women. They make us look good, they feed us, they take care of us. Well, they just kind of, they give us a good upbringing, And so with that, we got to be appreciative to them, So respect them, give them the respect that they deserve. Don't talk any way to them or just you got to respect them, because they're the backbones of everything. Because like this encampment here, okay, like tomorrow, they're going to feed at 11 o'clock. Who's going to do the cooking? It's the women folk. Even though that's their role and everything like that, but still yet, if it's not for them, that's how things can go on. Then when they come in, well, then there's different, like there's the auxiliary, war mothers. Then we got another service club called the Victor Club. They come in, we all come together right here for our servicemen. And then there was another one, it's called Purple Heart. And they come in, and then it's beautiful to see them when they come in. They dance, and it just kind of makes you feel you just kind of want to. Well, with me, it makes me want to sing because I'm sitting there where my position is. I'm sitting there, and I'm able to observe this whole arena. And with that, well, then when I see them enjoying themselves and participating, well, then that makes my day. That makes my day. And then so then after that, well then that's kind of more or less like the woman's time, So with that, then right after that, well then we'll take a little break, drink water, kind of more or less sit there and let them kind of get their breath. Then we'll go into War Mother songs that were made, talk about different things that would disguise. Well, my understanding and my interpretation was that Louis Toybo was vital in making a lot of these War Mother songs. And at that time, well, I guess he kind of more or less seen his wife and different ones. I guess their boys were in the service. They're washing dishes and everything, and she'd be looking out the window there, and he's kind of like saying a little prayer and talking about her son and everything, and keep him out of harm's way. Don't let nothing happen to him. And so with that, well, then I guess he's just kind of like anybody else sitting there. Then all of a sudden, well, I always say like this wind, you can't see the wind or anything, but you can feel it. And then it comes, and here comes that song. And then the wordings to it, here it comes. And then so he's knowledgeable to grab it and make a song out of it. And so that's how they come to be. And then with that, well, he wanted to share with the people. But then back at that time, there was Ernest Redbird Sr., there was Jimmy Anque, there was Nathan Doyle, those tribal singers. They kind of go all throughout the state of Oklahoma to different tribes, and they sing, enjoy themselves. Well, he told them, he said, y'all take these songs and y'all sing them, so that way the people, he said, especially the cows, they'll learn them, because he was a shy. I'm gonna say he was a shy person. He didn't want any kind of acknowledgement or anything like that. But anyway, and so with that, well, then they turned around, and Jimmy Anque, he got a hold of it. So because Louis would sing these songs and give them recordings to talk, about these songs. So he got to composing. He got to making his own songs. And so with that, well, he did the same thing. So if it wasn't for those two guys, well, a lot of our songs, and the Kiowas, I'm going to say that the Kiowas, the Ponkas, and the Pawnees were the only ones that, the Ponkas and the Pawnee, they call it soldier dance. Us, we call it War Mothers. See, and that's how that came about. But then again, I got to studying, I got to looking at it. Well, this round dance that we had, well, way before then, we had what we called, modern times, well, it's a war journey we had back then. So when them guys get ready to go on their, whatever, maybe raid or whatever, revenge raid or whatever, well, then they'd sing those songs. They'd gather their people, their war party, and then they'd sing those songs on their way out of camp. Well, as that would come down, well, then that's when that, like this round dance, but then it kind of more, there's the story I've been told is that down here at the Indian Fair, they turned around and there was, of course, they had a carnival there, and this guy had his booth there and everything, his sideshow, I guess. And what he had is he had some girls dancing there, and he was a barker. He just said, "Hey, y'all, come on in. It only cost you a nickel. This come see the girls of 49. Come on in." And there was a couple of them. At that time they had cans and the scantily with their shorts on, see their legs and all this thing, And so they got kind of curious. So they paid their nickel, and they went in there and they seen, and I guess they more or less like what they seen, So with that, well, then I guess these other guys, they were kind of like watching them and all this and that. And so then at that time, well, they would have war journeys back behind the grandstand. Well, the same grandstand that's standing, but back behind there. And so I guess the Kiowas, they was doing their thing, singing their songs and everything. Then they took a break. They took a break. Let's catch our breath. And then so they was all standing there, all lined up. And then over here was all them, their girlfriends and girls like that, you know. And then, so one of them said, "Hey, come see the girls of 49." And those girls over there, they said, you got kind of shame and all, you know. So that's where 49 came from. So it changed from War Journey to 49. See, so and then with that, well, then they like some of the songs that they're singing in 49 are those War Journey songs, you know. But I guess it's kind of more that you got to know. And to me, it's the older people that know this. And like modern times, they put English, the English language in there, and they sing about, you know, well, like this one guy had, well, there's that one-eyed Ford, and then, you know, my sweetheart don't love me, you know, there's things like that, you know. So that's how, but that's what it pertained to, and then to me, that kind of more or less fits it around here, what's taking place here. So with the War Mother songs and all that, that's where kind of, I'm going to say, maybe I'm not going to say I don't know, but maybe that's where they came from, you know. So it's just that I don't want to leave anything out like that when it comes to our singing. So that's, you know. But anyway, we give that time to the women, and then we sing what we can. We can make it lengthy, I guess you could say, because there's you can't actually put a number on how many songs there are. So with that, then after that, well, then we go into our scalp dance. So the women, they get their lances and everything. That's the same way too. But here was just only, well, it's kind of like these guys are in a teepee. They're over there. Sometimes they stand out and they're waiting, and we're just kind of more getting started. But we don't want to get into it the way we could. But we just kind of limit it to just a certain amount. And what gets me, like these young girls, they want to, well, they dress and they come out and everything, but they won't participate. Maybe they'll go out there maybe one or two songs, but we got an elderly lady. Her name is Donna Jean Satot. I mean, that woman is 90 years old, and that woman she just flat gets down, even to this day, you know. And then, well, as a matter of fact, we look forward to this. You know. And I said, well, okay. And so when that time comes, well, y'all will see her, you know. And then after that, that's what the scout dance. And then after that, we go right into our victory dance. And that's because of the wars the wars we won. I think my understanding, we lost one, you know. So with that, we do that victory dance, and then after that, these women they got 3 songs. Yeah, it's kind of like charging the enemy. And they're like scalp dance, but you roll the drum, and then you build your tempo up till the end, and it gets faster. And then they got their own shuffle. And then we sing that for them. And then so with that, well, then that takes care of our women. Then after that, well, then the guys over there, they're ready to come in. So they got their own song that they sing. it's kind of more or less when they come in. Well, I guess back in the day, the Sundance or whatever, when each society performed or did whatever, well, then they would have their own songs that come in. You know, so that's what they do here, and so with that, well, I'm going to say there's a crow guy, a crow man, gentleman. And when they come down, they play a hand game with us for a week and all this. We have this relationship: the Crow, the Mandan, the Hidatsa, and the Wickaw, and the Kiowas. Okay, well, when the Crows come down, the visitation in November. Well, I don't know. This guy was telling me the story about the song that he learned, and I said, "Well, sing it for me." So he sang it for me, and I told him, I said, that song didn't come to you. I said, it might have came to you, but it came from us. I said, we got a society over here that we use that song, but that's what he's saying, and they use it for a hand game song. Yeah, but then, I said, well, that's what, then all them other guys that sang with us, well, we sing it over here, and then when we get up to Crow or they sing and everything, then they all kind of say, hey. I said, yeah, that's one of our songs. So, oh, okay. Did you tell them? I said, well, yeah, I told them. I said, but it's up to them if they don't want to sing it or use it anymore, but if they respect us or whatever, they'll quit, And so with that, well, then that's when they come in. They come in and then, well, usually I always just kind of they get into it. Then when they get close to the drum, well, then that's when we take it over. And then that's when I tell the boys, I tell the gentlemen around there, I said, okay, now give it everything you got. Just give it everything you got. Let's get this thing going and get the spirit going. So then we pick it up, and that's really uplifting to do that, And then I'm glad that we do. And then after that, well, then we turn around and there's got what they call, well, it's kind of like it's a backup. These two songs we're singing, they're backups. And so what we do, we roll the drum and everything. Then the guys, they get up and they're gonna dance. They go out there and dance, and then we sing these two songs. But with that, I said we're backing them up, so we're pushing. And well, sometimes I was thinking, damn, we're singing it too long, but they're into it, and we're into it. Then when we do that, and then we stop, then we roll it, then we start that second song. And then that's the one we make it lengthy. Because we see these guys and the crowd, the people, everybody standing in honor, and they're just everybody's just into it. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. It's to me, it's a good spiritual feeling that's indescribable. You can't describe the feeling that you have when you see them out there, and then the sound of that drum, and the sound of your help, and like I said, our women singers, they're just as much as part of this, because without them, they make things go too. See, so that's why when we all get together and we put it in as one, well, we usually end up with a good celebration, and that, not only Black Leggings, but that's any of our other societies or any of our other ceremonies. It's the same way. So with that, and then after that, then we'll just go into, well, I'm going to say there's about maybe 6, maybe 7 starting songs. Well, they're just real slow paced songs, kind of get everybody to loosen up and kind of, and then after that, well, then we it's just kind of like a straight up and down beat. Then after that, well, then we gotta, well, we're ready to go. we're ready to go. And then once we do that, well, then you have to watch out, because, I guess we gotta take into consideration, once we get going, we need to kind of like cut it off, like say 4, 5, 6 verses, and then cut it off. But we're so into it that we just pick it up. Then when we see people, different ones that want to go out there and honor their veterans or whatever, well, then that's when we push a little more so they'll be able to do what they want to do, So with that, then when it comes on down, well, then that's just our afternoon. Then we got a little session there to where we go into, I guess, our word songs. And those word songs, they're well, I'm gonna say is from 58 up to now. Those are modern day songs. They were made after 58. The tunes, they were the same way, but then there's older songs that made it through. Well, I always see a gap that they made it through and then they survived and they made it this long, And so with that, well, then that's where that's our program. And then till we, like the fall time, the last day, which is Sunday, okay, we got what we call the Encounter the Enemy. And that's something just within itself that's people need to, I'll say cows need to see that. They need to have an understanding of it and everything, And what it is that it's like a war party going out, and they've got 2 guys watching the rear, taking care of the enemy back there, and then you got your leaders up here, and then they just kind of more or less go one way, then they turn around, they come back. It's awesome. And the tempo of that song, you just kind of more or less, there's a song that you sing so that they can make their preparations, and get ready. And then after that, well, then you go into a slow beat, just kind of more or less take your time. I think, one time I'm going to say, we sing that song. Well, I got to watching my clock, my watch. So we sing that song 30 minutes. 30 minutes, but it didn't seem that long because we were into it, And then so when we get so far and everything, well, then we say, well, okay, now it's time. There's 2 parts to it, so we switch over to the other one, and that's when we pick the tempo up. And it's kind of more or less like it's a battle. It's a battle, like the battle gets started, and then after a while, there's just intense fighting, and just all this. That's what you're building up to. And then after that, well, then we're always looking. Well, at least I'm always looking to find, I wonder who they got that's going to stop this drum. And the only way they're going to do it is they're going to get that paw bone, that lance. Okay, what they're going to do is they're going to get that, and then they're going to come to the drum. And over here, straight across from me, well, these guys are going to, we tell them, okay, this time, this one song, y'all sit apart. Kind of like, give that guy room to fit in. And so when they do, well, then he comes and he dances to that drum. Well, sometimes he'll come and dance, and then he'll just turn around and go back. You just keep going, But then it's kind of like he's going to come in and say, then he's going to say, my back, or something like that, and then turn around. But we don't care, We're not dancing, but y'all are. But we're singing, and we like it, And so then finally he'll come and he'll touch that drum. When he touch that drum, well, that's when we stop. We stop. The women's hollering, they're luluing, men are hollering, and then like the fall time, they bring guns, but there's fire. They use blanks and all this and that, and that kind of that adds on to the whole thing. So that's kind of more or less what you're going to see, you know. And then after that, then we go into they got their own shuffle. They got their own. I'm trying to think of the name for it, but anyway, they do their own thing. Just that one little. There's several songs to that too. And then my uncle Dixon, he used to say, "Shuffle, shuffle," right at the beginning when they come in. Say, "Shuffle, say shuffle." Nah, hey, dog, you just wait. So, but anyway, then once we do that, then after that, then we close it out. We close it out because they're pretty tired then, you know. They're pretty tired. And then again, like the singing, I always tell them, you know, okay, we're going to do 2 days of it. So y'all need to kind of, y'all take it easy a little bit. You know, and it's hard, though. It's hard because like now, we danced in the spring. Okay, it used to be we danced in the spring and the fall, then for a while there, then they just went to one time a year, and that was the fall. And so it's kind of like this dance here, it's not universal like the gourd dance or war dance. It's something of its own. I guess the only thing that's pretty close to it is the Apaches. The Apaches, they got their Blackfoot Society. There's 2 of them, you know, and the songs are pretty close. Well, they're the same, you know, and so with that, then you know that's about the only time the Apaches they have the Redbones they have their powwow in August, second week in August. So anyway, they have it in August, and then the Chalapal family. They have they're at Alden. They have theirs Father's Day weekend. So then this one here. So with that, then that's pretty much the deal of the Blacklingers. And then after that, then there's different things like the MCs. Right now they're clear. I mean, they're MCs. They explain things all right, but I'm gonna say they need to do a little more studying so they can go in depth of whatever they want to talk about or whatever, you know, and know what they're talking about, you know. So with that, then, you know, until I'm going to say that's kind of like we had knowledgeable men at that time, MC men at that time that used to do that, take care of that stuff, you know.
The other day you had shared a story with me about, Gus Sr. had asked you to be a part of this and you know, to kind of lead off the drum. Can you just tell that story again?
Yeah, okay. What happened back then was that, I don't know, at that time, there was different individuals that were here, and for whatever reasons they left. Okay, and so Gus Dixon, them guys, George, they get different individuals to take care of this music, this drum. Some were knowledgeable, some weren't. And so they kind of, I don't know how come or why, but like here in the day, in the 60s, I used to run around this place. While this dance was going on, I'd be running around playing and all this, you know, all this and that, but then still yet I was listening. And so with that, after that, I would kind of hum around things, you know. And my mom, she was the auxiliary president, but she always sat behind the drum. So she was knowledgeable and all that. And she kind of more or less say, "Where did you learn that? Where'd you learn, or how did you, how did you pick that up?" And I said, "Oh, I said, I'm down there playing and everything, but I ain't, I'm listening. And so with that, well then anyway, they found out about me, and they found out what I could do. So they came to the house, and there was Gus, Dixon, and George, and I said, oh man, there's my CD. So I went out there and said, well, y'all come on in, and hey, baby, y'all come on in, bass off, sit down. So they came in there, and I didn't ask them, what do y'all want, or what, So y'all come and sit down, and I said, y'all want some coffee or something, water or something, They said, no, we come to ask you something. Come to talk to you about it. I said, okay. Well, so I got my chair and I sat down and I looked at them. I said, Nando. I said, what do y'all want? They said, well, we want you to take care of our drum. I said, uh-huh. They said, the whole program. And so with that, I said, well, okay. I said, let me go talk to your sister first, my mom. Let me go, because they're going to have to back me up. Let me go see what she says. And in the meantime, all this time I was thinking about why at that time one of my guys that I learned from, well, one of my teachers was Leonard Cosette Sr. And then my grandpa Bill Colletti, and there was older men before them that used to sit around this drum. And at that time, Leonard told me and his boys, said, okay, now you learn the scalp dance. So that way you can take care of that part. You learn the victory dance and the shuffle, and that way we'll take care of it. And now then we'll all sing, because there's war dance, round dance, well, the war mother songs, well, veteran songs, flag song, veteran song, war mother songs, and then scalp dance, victory dance, those two honoring songs, those backup songs, and then the tone conga, their starting songs, and then the actual tone conga, and then they call them a slide, and then there's their shuffle. There's 10 styles of singing in this afternoon program. So that's what I learned. So that's why I was able to do this and that. And then I told him, I said, well, okay. I said, okay. In order for me to do that, well, we're lucky that we have modern day times. We got tape recorders. Back then it was reel-to-reels, and that's what. Well, Gus had some reel-to-reels, and he said, here, you put these on cassette and all that. So I said, okay. So that's how I kind of more or less got an idea. And so when I said, well, Gus would sit right over here. And now that's where Tugger sits. So I was sitting there, and then so we carry on like that. And so with that, well, then that's when I lived here in Anadarko. So I went to Carnegie, where I'm actually from, and then I told Mom, I said, your brothers came to see me. She said, oh, yeah, and I said, they want me to take care of that tone conga, that drum. She said, oh, her answer to everything was, well, it was always, oh, her response was always, oh, yeah. And I said, so she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, that's why I come to see you. I said, what do you think about it? She said, well, son, she said, only thing I'm going to say to you is dedication. Dedication. Don't you miss any time. And I said, okay. And so with that, I left and everything. She said, well, what you going to do? I said, I'm going to tell him, yeah, I'm going to accept it. So with that, well then, and that was in 1978. It was after October, this dance, 78. Then I said, okay. So from that time on, well then, I came back and I called Gus. He said, okay, we're going to come up. And so I called him and told him, I said, okay, I've got my answer. Y'all come on up. I'll let y'all know what it is. I said, I'm not going to tell you over the phone. He said, okay. So they came up and they came in, they sat down, and I told them, I said, okay. I said, I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to tell you why. I said, when y'all first formed, come together, my grandpa was y'all's first sergeant at arms. I said, yeah. I said, okay. World War II came. Then my dad, my brothers, my uncles, they all went. They all fought. Some paid the supreme sacrifices and all that, you know. They all went, and then they made it back all right. I said, so that's why I'm going to do it. And he said, okay, and then he left. He said, well, okay, we're going to go to town. We'll be right back. So they went to town, and they brought me a blanket. Well, they brought me a big old basket of groceries. Yeah, I mean, they're just everything in there, you know, all the essentials and all this and that. They brought that basket of groceries, and on top of that basket of groceries, there was a blanket, brand new blanket, Pendleton blanket. And then on top, and then pinned to that blanket, there was money pinned to it. They pinned money to it. And so with that, well then they said, here, this is yours. This is what we brought you. And so it's not that they bought me or anything like that, but it was they appreciate it, you know. And so from 1978 all the way up to now, that's a little over what? Let's see, 40 years, maybe, yeah. Well, about 45 years, that's how long I've been here. And I've never missed, only twice I missed. And that's because I had this amputation. I went up to Iowa. And then one of my grandsons came by, picked me up and took me to Louisiana for a powwow. And I said, you got to get me back at least Sunday. Get me back Sunday. But it didn't happen, so that's only twice I missed, you know. So other than that, I've been here in Canada, and I've been looking. It's getting to where maybe, well, what I see now is that I'm not as strong as I used to be. Okay. Well, plus I'm handicapped, but then again, I don't let that get in my way or anything because I still can sing. And as long as I can do that, well, I'll do that. And so with that, well, then that's why I accepted it, and that's why I'm here. And that's why, like these songs here, they're ancient songs. They're just, oh, well, I'm going to say you're going to see me in action. And like this time, it's to where I'm going to, well, I can see. I've had strokes, I've had heart attacks, and of course I'm handicapped now, but then there's going to be a time when, well, I'm not going to be here, you know, but at least what I'm saying and what we're talking about is going to be here. So this is something that I could leave. So that's why I'd like Tugger, you just kind of more or less said, I told him and everything that you're the one. You're anybody wants to know anything, well, there you are. And I said, okay. He said, well, I said, I'm going to do the best I can. Because I said, the reason why I feel, well, I'm close to this and everything because of what I do and everything and everybody that served and all this and that. But the names on that teepee, The name's on that teepee. They paid the supreme sacrifice, and I'm thankful for that. That I can do what I do, and I live the way that I live. That I'm doing now. And so with that, well, then it's just kind of more or less. Well, I consider myself a tribal singer, and among the Kiowas, you don't brag on yourself. You don't brag on yourself. But I'm gonna say this because we're doing okay. Native American church, I can sing those songs. Kiowa hymns, Christianity, I can sing those songs. Okay, and then there's the rabbit dance, there's hand game, there's war dance, family songs, gourd dance, war journey, 49. Some of our singers, they're kind of like specialists. They only sing war dance, or they only sing gourd dance, or they only sing, whatever, But for me, I can sing all of them. So the people just say I'm just kind of like, well, like I was told, I'm an endangered species, So if anything ever happens to me, well, then that's because I'll take it with me, And then never again will they'll. I said, but what I know, I want to leave. I want to leave. So that's why I'm glad that I'm doing this, And so with that, well then, I just, I'm just happy, And the thing is that, okay, this is another thing that I'm gonna leave for the Kiowas. Like these songs, the different types of songs, I wrote them out phonetically, what they sound like to me and how you pronounce them, and then I translated them underneath. So I'm getting me a songbook together. Yeah, I'm getting me a songbook together, but I still got a long ways to go. Yeah.
So why is it important to? And I know you kind of answered this as the gentleman on the teepee, but for outside of like a native culture, we kind of put veterans on a pedestal in a lot of ways because they protected us in ways, and they still do. If you think about it, but. I guess, in your words, what, and for the people that maybe don't understand Kiowa ways, why is it important for Kiowa people to honor our veterans? Why is it important for them to show that respect?
It's just something that it's just in the blood. It's just in the blood. I guess, well, it's always been that way among the Kiowas. Because like when these guys will go on raids and then they come back, well, the women folk were always there waiting. And then, when they leave, they say a prayer. Maybe they'll go to, we got some articles there. They'll go see them and they'll say, well, okay, I'm gonna go over here on a raid. I'm gonna go meet the enemy and bring me back safe, and I'm gonna bring you something. So when they would, well, then they bring back a scalp and they. Give it to them, or put it in the keeper, whatever. And then so with that, well, the women folk, they will wait there, and then when they would come in, when they see their men folk come in, well, they only get excited, get happy, and they just start dancing, And so with that, well, then that's kind of more or less because they were protectors. So they were highly respected people because they were, well, I guess kind of more or less to put it all together is that, okay, there's only two people that's willing to give their lives for you and I. And the first one was Jesus Christ, the Son of God. He died for us, okay? They nailed it to the cross, the veteran. The veteran.
And this Sunday, I was talking to Tugger, and they're going to have a special for Pascal Poulard. one of the highest decorated soldiers, and
Yeah.
it just happens to be Kiowa.
Yeah.
If you could just kind of reflect that in my question is, about Pascal and, him being, one of our highest decorated,
Mhm.
but can you comment on, Pascal, and I know that, you're probably a bit young to
Yeah.
know him, but,
Yeah.
just reflecting back on, what he made the ultimate sacrifice in a way. He went back time and time again as a true warrior. Can you just talk about Pascal in your own reflection?
What I heard about him was all good things. It's all good things. There was nothing bad said about him or anything, is that he was a true warrior. True warrior. And they say he was highly decorated, I guess medals and all this. Then he came home and then Vietnam started. And his sons went over, so he came back home and he didn't agree with it. So he went back. So that's where he was in Vietnam. Of course, he was, I guess, kind of more or less going over there to look for his boys or anything, but he never did find them. And then he got killed over there. And I just kind of more or less think what Vietnam itself. When our soldiers came back from Vietnam, they weren't even, nobody did anything for them except us here. And they didn't acknowledge them, they didn't acknowledge what they were doing, but they was just, I guess that's just how it was supposed to be or whatever. But that was sad. That's sad. Even still to this day, there's a lot of them that's trying to deal with it and all this and that. They have, it's just that post-traumatic stress and all that. They have to deal with that, and they're trying, because, I'm going to say Vietnam, World War II, Germany, there's a lot of things that those individuals seen that we'll never see. There's a lot of things that we just can't imagine what they experienced, what they went through, and they did. Then I see them, of course, now, like, they're all poor things. They're all up in age, and they're still trying to do with the things that they have. I mean, they're trying to make adjustments to life and all this and that, but they're having a hard time. And I guess it's kind of more or less with Pascal, he doesn't have to go through that. And he doesn't have to face any of that stuff, Like one of his boys, he went over there, and that was his name, Pascal Jr. He went over there, and he stepped on a landmine and lost his leg, And things like that, Well, he was already gone, but then those kind of things happened to him. Then his boys, a lot of them, they got Purple Hearts, So that was the thing that he was wanting to prevent. I think, because even myself, in my time, me and my brother, we tried to enlist and everything, but my grandpa said, nope. He said, I'm going to pray, I'm going to ask God that they all deny you. He said, all them branches. And then sure enough, well, okay, well, try the Army. They turned me down. I went to the next one, Navy, they turned me down. Went to the Marines, they turned me down. I said, God, those. I said, what, I said, I'm all right. I said, no, we don't need you. I said, well, okay. So I just said, just stay stateside and enjoy your life. To whatever. And I said, okay. Then so Grandpa, every time I come back and tell him, he said, see, that's what I said. Grandpa, I've been through it. I seen it. I witnessed it. I lived it. And then the same was, I lost my dad when I was 10 years old, so I didn't know. I knew him, but I didn't get to know him as the way I wanted to, or the way others are. And so with that, well then, that's mainly it. And like getting back to Pascal, well, in my books, he's highly respected person, warrior within our tribe. So I guess if there was if the Coit Sangor was still around, he'd be one of them. He'd be one of them, along with others that But he's the one. He's the most. Well, like I'm saying, he's and the thing about it is that he's Kiowa. Goy.
I've traveled a lot doing stories on different reservations around the country, and I just got back from up north. But I always hear about Kiowa music. It's like I always talk about Kiowa music, how beautiful it is, and the songs. And it's very memorable. Can you just talk about Kiowa music in those terms, and just tell us in your own words, like, what's the beauty in it? What do non-native people don't understand about our music, and why it's powerful and why it's beautiful?
Okay, to me, Kiowa music is spiritual, very, very spiritual, and it's just the expressions, the movements, or whatever the song may be, or whatever. With me as a singer, I put everything I got into it because it makes me feel good. And then if my listeners or whatever, if they nod their head or whatever, they're into it, I'm doing something. So that's why. And then, like I said, it's Kiowa music is very, very spiritual, and it's meaningful. It's meaningful, and it's just kind of like Kiowas. When they sing, well, like I'm saying, it's meaningful, just like this flag. Those flag songs that were made, like that flag that's on the moon. Okay, and just different things. Well, even church songs and. I'd say Native American church songs, purity songs. They're that way. In Kiowa hymns, I mean, they're just There's a Mother's Day song that was made. There's a Father's Day song that was made. There was different veteran songs that were made. There's individual songs that were made. I mean, I'm going to say Kiowas, they've got music for just about any occasion. I said, we even got a birthday song, and the translation of that is that, thank you, God, for giving me another year, and just continue what you're doing, and I'm thankful for you. So that's the interpretation of that. And to me, like this Kiowa language, when I sing these songs and I put this language in there, talk about it, all this and that, in my mind, I'm thinking, whatever the occasion is at that particular time, what I'm faced at. Well, then, if I sing a song that pertains to that or whatever, well, then it just makes me that much stronger, And so that's why I say that this Kiowa music, that's basically what it is. It's basically what it is. It's very spiritual, very meaningful, and it's just not. It's not these composers. To be a composer, you're a blessed person, because God Almighty, He selected you, and He sent that song down to you that should be used. And so you got it. So you're kind of more or less the composer, I guess you would say, and then you bring it out to the people, and then after a while they sing it, they like it, and then that's it, you know. So that's what I'm saying. The beauty, spirituality, and meaningfulness of the songs.
You know what? When I look around and I look at all the guys that are around the drum here, I mean, there's a lot of faces and some new guys. Can you just it's like just explain with someone who wouldn't understand this, like what's it like sitting with, you know, all these, you know, these established singers, these guys that are singing with you in unison. What's it like being in part of that heartbeat, that rhythm that y'all are kind of putting out? Can you just explain it in terms of, like, I mean, we can understand.
Yeah, like with me, like, okay, it's kind of more or less, you know who's who. You know who's capable of, with over here, the knowledgeable, the guys that are capable, I'll set them on the side of me. And then over here, well, then it's going to be kind of like the new guys, the beginners. So, but back then, okay, how I come to be at that time, when I first went to the drum, it was at the Kiowa celebration over there. I went over there, and my grandpa, he was a vet and all that, and he got us money there and everything. And so with that, he said, "Come on." So he took me up. They took me up to uptown Carnegie. They took me up there. We went to the store there, and then he bought me new jeans, bought me boots, socks, jeans. He was dressing me on the way, you know. Well, him and grandma, you know, bought me a shirt, you know, undershirt, and all that, new belt, and they even bought me a hat. So I was looking pretty keen there at that time. So we was going back down to the park and everything. Then right when you come out of the car, right there, there's a firecracker stand there. So he pulled over there like that, and I said, "Come on." So I got all excited, and I said, all right, yeah, okay. So I got off the car, went over there. He said, "Okay, get what you want." I said, So I said, "Well, give me some of this." Then he kind of warned us, because hey, now you're kind of going overboard there a little bit, boys. So just kind of, but anyway, I got one, so I had a sack. They give me a brown sack, kosher sack. Pull all the firecrackers. I said, all right. So I said, "God, those," and they gave me punks and everything. So anyway, so we got back down to the camp. He said, "Okay." So the dance started the next day that afternoon, but we already went up to town that day before. So we got there, and at that time they had a tub, big old tub. He put water on the fire and heated it up and everything. So that was my bath. He said, "All right, boy, come on and get in, come on and get in here." I said, "Okay." So I went in there, said, "Get in there." So I stood in there and everything, and he had a cup, pouring water on me, soaping me up and everything, and then pour water, rinse me off and everything. Got there. He said, "Okay, put them clothes on." So I said, "All right." So I got all, like I am now, got all ready. Because then, well, one thing that I specify and I require is that when you come out to this drum, no cutoffs, no tank tops, no ball caps. I said, you have to be like this, you know. I said, at least long sleeve shirts, you know, because you're out in the middle of everything. People see you. You don't have to get it. When you come out here, you sit down. You don't have to get up and walk around and everything to be noticed. I said, you're sitting right here in the heart of everything. And so with that, well then, so I got ready and everything, and then he gave me a chair. I had a chair like that. So we went and we got over there. We got to the drum. And then one of my other grandpas, well, there's two of them there. They were sitting on the side. They put me in the middle of them two guys because they were high singers. And see, I was just a young guy then, so I'd keep right up with them, you know. So when they start a song, well, then those guys, they'd have to wait until they came down, and then they could pick that song up. But sure, when they started, I'd ride with them when we go up there, you know. But anyway, then I had a grandpa that was sitting, the guy that was the kind of like leading the singing, he was my uncle. Married into, well, he's my uncle on my mom's side, but he was married into one of my grandma's daughters, you know. And so with that, and then on the other side of him was my grandpa. Okay, well, one of my grandpas. And then they got to talking and everything, and all I could hear my grandpa say was, "Tell him to go play." And he said, no, I can't do that. He said, "No, tell him to get him. This is just only men." So he did. He said, he came over there and leaned over and said, "Say, why don't you go ahead and go play, and then tonight you can come back tonight." I said, "Okay," because see, I had firecrackers on my mind, you know. Heck yeah, boy. So I jumped down, I got over to the camp, and took all my duds off and everything, and put my play clothes on. I was ready. So it was daytime, so all I got was the firecrackers, some firecrackers. So I went out, and then I asked my grandma, I said, "Ty, can you give me a light?" She said, "A light? What you doing here?" You know, I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, they told me to go. I can play this afternoon and I can sing tonight." She said, "Wait." So she said, Herbert. He said, "Yeah." I said, "Come here." So he came on in. He said, "What you doing here, Cole?" I said, "They told me to come, you know, go play and everything, so I can sing tonight." He said, "No." Then he grabbed my arm like that and he dragged me over there. I was going over there and he's walking fast, you know. And my grandpa, he was a straightforward man, you know. And while they were all respecting him because he went over and he came back, so you know. So anyway, so there we went. And then he stood there and I was standing by him and he was looking at the drum like that. And then my uncle turned around and said, "Nando," he said, what's up?" He said, "I guess my grandpa, he had buddies there. And they'd always be talking and everything they were buddies. Drinking buddies, laughing buddies and all that, you know." So, and he said, "You guys, I thought y'all was my brothers." I said, "How come y'all let him run my grandson off?" And they said, why are y'all running them off, you know?" They said, "Well, no, this is just the man thing," because at that time they picked 10 singers of the tribe to sing, you know, court dance. And he said, "You know what, I'm gonna tell you guys something right now. I said, you guys are claim to be my brothers and everything. Y'all were relatives." He said, "But you know what? Y'all can all go to hell." That's what he told them. He said, one of these days, he said, "You remember this, one of these days, y'all are going to rely on this guy. And I hope he tells y'all to hell with y'all." I said, "God." Well, at that time, you know, I didn't know. I just kind of said, "God, Grandpa," kind of, you know. But anyway, so then he turned around and said, "Come on." So they drove me back to the camp and everything. So that's where I went. And sure enough, years later, there was another dance, and that uncle that was hit singer there, he was in charge of the afternoon program, and I was in charge of the night, the war dancing and stuff like that. So when that time came, he came up to my house, and he said, "Say," he wasn't happy about it, but he said, came up to, he said, "Say," he said, "I need your help." And I thought, it's my chance. I remember from that time, I still hear my grandpa. And he said, I know what your grandpa said. He said, but it's that the nephew and the uncle, there's a relationship between them to where you don't turn them down, especially your elders. So I said, okay. I said, we're going to go camp anyway. We'll put our camp up. I said, all right. So I went down there. And then later on, while I helped them out and everything, all that time when I sang and everything, the ones that were there that was helping said, remember what your grandpa said. Remember what we remember. I said, okay, so that came to pass. All right. And then, so the next one was my grandpa that was sitting by him. Okay, he got sick. It got to where I had to go to the house and carry him like a baby. I carried him like a baby. I took him to his doctor's appointments. I carry him out of the house, put him in the car, truck, or whatever, and then I would go to the doctor. I'd carry him in there, I'd get a wheelchair, put him in there. That's what I did for him till the day he died. And that's just, well, that's something that I experienced and that I know. And my sister, who he was married to, well, she knew that too. So she would always ask me, can you come take your grandpa he's got a doctor's appointment and all this and that? And I'd say, yeah. She said, well, you better bring somebody to help you low. I said, no, I'll do it myself. So that's how much weight he lost, and that's how I was able to do it. Pick him up like a little baby. Carry him like that. Set him in the car. Poor thing, that's, I didn't find, only happiness I found with that was to be able to be the one to do those things for him, If not, I guess he would have probably ended up in a rest home or whatever. But anyway, that was my experience at that time when the older men. And then from that time on, well, they would get me to hit sing or whatever, and then I have all these. First time I was hit singer was down there at they called it Eagle Park, down at Cache, down there. And this Comanche man and his wife, they called me son. And what they did was they said, son, I want you to be our hit singer. The Chief Wild Horse powwow that they used to have down there years ago. So I said, okay. So I went over there, and then they had me on a flyer. Well, one of my grandpas came, but there was several of them. They were there, they were there. And then there was two of them that were sitting together over here, And they said, my one grandpa's name was Tom Little Chief. He said, they was telling me, I was looking at this flyer and on there it said Joe Bishop. Who's Joe Bishop? Honey, how I go? I said, I don't know him, So, and I was sitting there, they caught my attention. I said, God, they talk about me, okay. See, Grandpa don't know who I am. And then my other grandpa's name, Roger Topai, they was talking, I said, I don't know. He said, well, that's what on that flyer, it's what I had on there. So I come to see what tribe is he or what, who is he? And they were sitting, they were stunned. And then he asked me, he said, Coon, I said, don't do it. He said, hot tail Joe Bishop. I said, you really want to know? He said, oh yeah. I said, it's me. You're upping, you're fish. Well, no, that's how they did. They just put that wrong. They spelled it wrong. I said, oh, okay. So he told my grandpa Tom. He said, it's your grandson right there. That's who that Joe Bishop is. So them themselves. That's what they would call me. They call me Joe Bishop. Well, they just say Cone. So, but yeah, that was the first time I heard sing. And that, God, it's been so long I can't even remember what year it was. But anyway.
Here at Blacklegs, especially talking to some of the older staff, the senior, I think there's a little bit of concern about, like, I guess, things change year after year, and people walk on. So I think there's a little bit of concern about younger people coming in, and with this continuing.
Yeah.
So I guess in your opinion, or if I can get your reflections on, should Black Leggings continue? Do you want it to? Would you like to see it continue? And how do you feel about that?
Well, yeah. It was something that was here once upon a time, and then we brought it back. Okay, now we're going on. Okay, the thing is, the requirements. You have to be a military. You have to have an honorable discharge, and then you have to be a Kiowa. Well, the thing about it is that, okay, out here, well, even the leader here, he's not a full-blood Kiowa. He's Kiowa and Choctaw through his dad, but his mom's Kiowa. Okay, I'm gonna say that's a good question. I would like to see it go on, but then again, if it has to, it's gonna slowly die, because here, like now, what you're gonna see here, the guys that are here, there's a name for them. They're the ones that's going to always be here. They were always here, and they're going to always be here. And then slowly they're leaving, So with that, well then, there's a very few Iraqi people out there, the different wars like that. There's a few of them out there that's been there. Well, like my daughter over there, she's a veteran. She's a veteran. So with that, well then, as far as this is a man's society, strictly man's society, and that's how. Well, they need to keep it like that. But then again, as far as this can go, well, until I'm going to say right now, I've been looking at it. I need to find somebody. I've had different guys in training. I'd always sit them by me every time we danced. And I said, y'all, pay attention now. I want y'all to learn. Because if something happens to me, I'm going to turn it over to you, or I'm going to suggest that you do it. And they say, yeah, but then I guess the one got scared, or he got, he didn't want it. And then I said, well, maybe I shouldn't have said something, But then again, I have to, so that somebody will. And I know there's one. He's on, but the thing about it is that the guy that I want to have sitting there in my place is, well, I want him to be 4/4 Kiowa. I want him to be Kiowa, because that's what I am. And even though he can't be me or do like me, but he can stay close as he can, and not add anything on and not take anything away, see. And so with that, there were these guys out there, those men, I'll tell you, I can't remember what year it was, but then there was one time, there was only 3 of us sitting at this drum. There was me, and I call him my boy, and the MC. And that was on Saturday. We said, everybody was watching the OU game and all this, went down there, So anyway, it was just us 3. But our women backup, they're the ones that carried us. And so it just so happens that I was recording at that time. And so with that, we did. we did, well, we did good, And so with that, then after that, well, then that next day, Sunday, the main day, well, then here come everybody. And we're just sitting like this, and there's all sitting like that. But with this, any kind of Kiowa doings, you use one drum. You can have as many guys as you want around there. Well, it's hard for me not to turn anybody away, except if you're off tribe, because the only one singing here is Kiowas. If you're some other tribe, I'm sorry, respect us. And so with that, that's just how it is, and hopefully it's going to go on. But then again, I kind of think it may not. It's going to have to be up to these younger people. There's a membership list, like their membership roster. I mean, there's enough for all these benches all the way around to be full of dancers, full of members, But some, it's just kind of like they want to put it on their resume. I'm a member of Black Leggings. I'm a member of Gort Clan. I'm a member of Omaha, So it's kind of like that's people, they want to be taken in and all that, but then they won't come back. They won't come back. Or if they do, they'll come back just to sit and watch and everything. Well, I guess which is all right, but then again, still yet, well, when I first came, when we first came up here, running around, I remember the guys used to sit almost all the way around, But then for some reason, okay, with those people, like this camp area, it'd be full of camps. Okay, if somebody dies in their family that's a member, okay, then they set back, mourning period or whatever. Well, once they do that, they don't come back. They say, well, Dad's not here no more, Grandpa's not here no more, Uncle's not here no more. So it's gonna, they put themselves, of course they're hurt and everything, but they're still yet, that's what Grandpa wants, that's what Uncle wants you to do, that's what Daddy wants you to do. They want you to carry on. So don't put your camps up or anything like that. Come back here and camp. Come back here and camp. So with that, well then, that's why I'm saying, well, I guess kind of more or less like, like Tugger, Darwin, a few others, they're the tail end of it. They're the tail end of it. If anything happens to Tugger, well, blocks us next in line. And like being a leader of this or whatever, well, you got to be strong, Well, anything actually, because okay, I'm involved with Gort Clan. Okay, so with that, well then, see, I'm vice president over there, so. And I pretty well know what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to Kiowa doings and things like that. And they're not powwows. They're not powwows. They're ceremonials. They're ceremonials, and so that's why when you come here, you're invited here and everything. Well, respect us, watch us what we do. Don't try to. Do your thing or whatever you think. You're here visiting us, because like when we go to your area and your tribe, well, we're gonna go along with you because we don't know what your culture is or anything like that, But this one here is well, a lot of other tribes, they're veterans. They come because we're honoring veterans. But I'm gonna say, actually, I'm gonna say we Kiowas, we're the only ones that honor our veterans. You know, come to think about it, maybe there's others that do, and then.
Hang on for just a second. This is kind of getting their audio.
What about his tie?
What's that?
What about his tie?
I asked Robert to go get that. Hey, go get that out of my truck.
Get what?
The tie.
What time?
The one on my dash.
Okay.
We're getting to the end of it. I know it's a long, but I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, and I would like to come back and actually talk to you a little bit more, just to, because there's only so much we can get in a couple hours before you all get tired and get tired of talking. But I guess for Black Leggings, a lot of this revolved around, and this will probably be the last kind of question, and but a lot of this is happening because of Gus Senior in a lot of ways. I mean, his experience, then putting him forward, and kind of putting this together, and getting the drum and everything kind of going. Could you just talk a little bit about him? And because I actually had a chance to interview him, and I didn't know him well, but just from someone who has been around him, and especially in this kind of arena, could you just talk a little bit about him and I don't know what kind of man he, or what kind of leader he was. What is his when it comes to Black Leggings? What are some of your reflections when it comes to Gus Senior?
Well, he was one of my mentors. I mean, with me, he was highly respected, and when I called him Sigi, I meant it. He could ask me to do anything that he wanted to, and I'd do it for him. And that's the same way with my mother, her relationship with him. And because of what he did, well, he went over there, and then he came back, and then it's just Gus Palmer. Gus Palmer. There'll never ever be another one like him. And he was one of these kind of guys that you didn't feel any way around him. I mean, you just got good vibes off of him, and you kind of more or less got to know him and all this. And so with that, I mean, like, okay, his involvement with Native American Church. He made some really meaningful songs. Well, actually, I was real involved with him, Native American Church. I'd go to his home, visit him, see him, check on him, see how he's doing. Even when he was in the nursing home, I'd go over there just to see him. Say, you all right? Say, you need this? I mean, he was my dad. He was my dad. And I'd sit there and I'd listen to his music, and I'd cry. I'd cry because I miss him. I miss him. I could sit there over here, I sit there and I sing, and just to hear him holler, just to hear him say, soul, huh, all this, and I could still see him dancing. So I know that he's here. He brings tears to my eyes, but that's the love and respect I have for my uncle. And so with that, he asked me. Well, he didn't ask me, he told me. He says, Segi, he said, when my time comes, he said, your brother here, I'm going to turn everything over to him. I said, yeah. I want you to watch him. He knows, but he doesn't know. And there was one time when we were here, he got sick and he fell over there. He fell over and then he said, everybody rushed around and everything. He said, no, y'all stay back. He said, I'm all right. And then he called me over. He said, CV? I said, yeah. He said, pick me up. So at that time, I picked him up, stood him up. He said, I'm all right now. I said, okay. Then another time, he got sick again, and this time they had to call an ambulance. And they took him. He said, go on. Don't stop. Don't stop. So be carried on and everything, and then that's when I guess, well, they came back and they told me what happened and everything, you know. And so after that, well, then I said, say now it's time for you to take your time. I said, go ahead, dress, and just sit there. Just sit there. Don't try to get up and dance and everything. Don't exert yourself. Just sit there. I said, you mean more to these guys when they see you sitting there, well, then, rather than participating. But it's just that they know that you're here and you're still with us, you know. So with that, well, then, you know, but like I said, I just kind of, I've got peyote tapes of him, and I got war dance tapes of him, and it's just, I mean, like, when we sit around, like the war dance, Oklahoma drum, we sit around there, well, he's always, he either sits by me or sits close to me, and then he just kind of, he's just full of laughter, you know, just kind of make you kind of feel like you're something or you're somebody, you know. That's the type of person that he was. And a lot of people, I'm glad that they respected him in that way, you know. So.
Is there anything we didn't, like I said, I want to continue our conversation, but we'll try later on. But is there anything that you, we didn't talk about black leggings that you want to talk about, or some of the veterans, the gentlemen up here that dance, or even the people that you sing with? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we didn't cover, I guess?
Well, I guess kind of like these, well, my deal for these younger guys, because what I'm going to do this go around is that I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to tell them how important they are, not only here, but I guess just other ceremonials, different drums and everything, you know. I said, it's good that you want to learn and all this. Well, go ahead. It's here for you. It's here for you. And take it, and be careful with it. Those just don't do it anyway. I said, and so like now, I said, I feel I'm ready for the pasture. Take me to the pasture and turn me loose. I said, but if I do that, y'all are going to be lost. Y'all are going to be lost. And because like here, a few months ago, well, I had a heart attack. And then I thought at that time, well, it's time. I need to start slowing down. Take care of myself. And then so I thought about this. Well, okay, so I started taking care of myself, but now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be here. I'm going to come here from the beginning. I'm going to come here. I'm going to be here, and just my presence at the drum. I'm going to sit with the drum. I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I'm going to sit there with them and guide them. And y'all are going to do the singing. You boys are going to do the singing. And whenever y'all, wherever it is that y'all are going to get kind of stumped at or whatever, well then I'll be there. But for how long, I don't know. I said it's up to you. But I feel it's gonna be a while now. But I'm just kind of making preparations. I want to make preparations so that I guess when he calls me home, well then, only thing I'll have is what I leave here, And so, but it's something that well, some people they don't like to talk about it, But it's coming. It's coming. But when, we just don't know when, So when your number's up, your number's up, But then again, it's kind of more or less now like my family. My family, there was 5, 6 of us. Then now we're just down to 2, just me and my sister, And she'll be here, But if anything happens, because like I told her at the hospital, I said, maybe, I don't know. I said, but I keep telling God, I said, I don't want you to be alone. So it's not that for him to come take you first before me, but then if it's going to work that way, let's let it work that way. So that way you won't be alone. I said, me, I'll be alone. I think I know I can handle it, I said, but I don't want you to be here by yourself, so that's why. I said, spare me, I said, I pray for myself, in my own way, And so with that, well then, that's kind of more or less, it's just kind of like, it's a reality. It's a reality when you get up. Well, now I understand the old people. Now I understand it because I used to, when they get to it, they'd always talk about, and I was young, so, what do you want to talk about that for? I mean, but they said, well, you don't realize, we're in that age now to where, I guess kind of more people, they just want, but when they go, or they can take it with them, no, you can leave it. And see, that's like me. I'm comfortable with what I do, where I'm at, and all. I'm not a rich man. I don't want to be rich. But my bills are taken care of. I got food on my table. I got somebody to take care of me. Those kind of things. That's what I want. That's what I enjoy, and that's good enough for me. It's good enough for me. And then my children are grown, and so, well, I've got grandkids, and through them, I've got little brothers, I got little sisters, and I want to see them grow. And thus far, well, my prayers are answered. And the thing is, I'm bearing witness to them, And just like being here, of course, the older guys, they're gone now, but then there's just, well, Tugger and Randy, they've always, well, like I said, they've always been here, so they're always been part of it, Different ones, well, like the Poulos, Corky and Martha, they were always there. They were always here too, So with that, like Martha, well, there's a relationship there, but she's I had a sister that was pretty much the same age as her, I guess, and they were buddies, So they ran around together, and of course she's from Carnegie, he's from here in Anadarko, So then they finally met, and they're still, through them, I still see some of the older people. Well, you look at people like that, and you see them, and you remember the people that kind of was their age or whatever, and you still see them, So, but that's kind of that's how Gus is to me. He's just anything. He told me this. He said, "You don't want to see. I could make things up and just tell you anything, and you're going to believe me." And I said, well, "Yeah, I am. Yes, I will." He said, "But he said, why should I? He said, so anything I tell you, with me is the gospel. I said, okay. I said, that's what I want. So everything I felt that he told me, explained to me, shared with me, that's the way it is, And he kind of more or less, well, he was in the military. He went over there, seen it, and all this and that. And with me, it's the gospel. And that's what I think about Gus Palmer. I'm just like anybody else. Well, like his family. I loved him. I wholeheartedly loved him. And I respected him. And he was just, like I said, he was just like he knew my dad. He knew my mom. And that's how he carried me. He carried me. He didn't the singing business. It was wholehearted nephew business. I said, oh, all right. So, and well, the thing about it is that we prayed together, we danced together, we sang together, and he was even our tribal leader. Well, he was our first tribal leader. And so with that, well, then even I got into politics and everything, and he kind of more or less told me things, kind of coached me along. But he didn't. Well, the thing about it is that he didn't really say anything negative about anything. He didn't. Maybe, like you say, that guy over there is no good. He never did say that. He just never did say that. He just kind of more. He talked with his eyes or his hands, and then that's how but as far as saying it verbally, he never did do that. So that's why I say, well, I'm going to say this, like Gus Palmer, what a man. What a man. Yeah.
Yeah, she just wanted to come check it out.
Well, I'm going to say this too also, is that like all these people that come here, they document all this and that here. Mm-hmm. And well, even the members. One thing I'm going to say is that they talk about everything else. They talk about the dancing and all this and that. One thing that they always forget is the drum. The drum is the heartbeat of anything. And that's why I always tell them, these singers, respect them. Come up, tell them thank you, shake their hands. They don't sing for money or anything. Just come over and shake their hands and thank them because they made you enjoy yourself. And so with that, well, then that's when they say, well, we're gonna. I always say, well, let's spread the blanket for them or something like that. Or when they give away, I say, y'all make sure y'all acknowledge the drum. I said, because if not, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing, I'm straightforward about that, Y'all, we as tribal members, we need to do that. Not only here, but anywhere else. Because like where I see it, up there, the Ponkas, they do that. The Osages, they do that. The Pawnees, they do that, But us Kiowas, well, we do that too, but then we have to be told, But that's why I say always, I'm glad that all this come about because like the singing and stuff like that, that's hard work. It's hard work. You gotta, in your mind, you gotta have these songs because you gotta know when to sing them and what's going to take place and all this and that. And so with that, there's a repertoire that just goes right on down the line. And once you do that, you're going to be all right. And once you learn that, you're okay. See, so that's why I keep telling them, y'all, you men here, you're important. You're important. I said, even though these guys, they went to war, they were in the military and all this, but you guys are. I'm gonna say y'all are pretty well equal, or we're pretty well equal, because without us, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing. I said the sound of this drum is gonna stop. I said once that happens, that's it. That's it. So, anywhere, any place or whatever activity is going to take place within the Native Americans, that drum's going to always be there. The drum's going to be there. It's a vital part of our ceremonies, our traditions. In other words, it's the heartbeat. It's the heartbeat. You know, you gotta. There's well, the way I see it, like the Ponkas, the Pawnees, there's a certain protocol you got to be around that drum. Well, down here, we're the same way, but we're just kind of a little lax, you know. People like to tell jokes or tell stories on each other and stuff like that, and then they laugh, you know, but then people are trying to do things. So that's when you have to calm them down. I said, no, you kind of hold it down a little bit, you know, so.
Is there any songs you'd like to share with us while we're here? I mean, I was thinking, I was like, well, you know, so every now and then we'll have people, you know, want to sing to us, you know, but I don't know if there was anything you can, you know, sing a cappella, I guess, without a drum or.
Well, no, I can sing with drum or without a drum.
Okay.
You know.
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I'll just say like, okay, like here there was a song that was composed by Leonard Kozak, Senior, and he talks about these Tonkonga, and what it is, it's okay, black ladies, get up and dance. This is your dance. Tonkonga ne behaga hey begun mo na bosom bon ma dogulonga ba how he hey yo Tonkonga ne behaga hey begun mo na bosom bon ma Dogulonga ba how he hey whoop whoop whoop. See, when you sing, put that feeling in there. Put that feeling in there, and that's when that song comes to life, you know. But you can just sit here and just sing it straight. Don't put no kind of nothing in there. Well, it's just a straight song, but you got to make it happen. And that other song I was telling you about, that Flag on the Moon, that my uncle made. Let's see. They don't take I to ya. They don't take I botodo. Poko, sole de. Taiko tago. Taga nebe hapegum. They don't take I to ya. They don't take I botodo. Poko, sole de. See, it's a good, it talks about, you know, this flag, honor it, you know, respect it. It's been all different wars. It's even up there on the moon, standing just like a soldier. I said, man, I said, all right. And by those songs, there's a few others. Well, okay, there's a song was talking about this. I was talking about this Coit single, Sitting Bear. Okay, he has his own song, but when Gus got back from Germany and all this and that, well, he put the words into it, and what it talks about the black leggings. and then it same thing tells them to stand up and dance. You know, this is their time. You know, and that they're well, we call them ketais, but they're chiefs among our people. Yeah. So, hey ya 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 hey ya ya hey ya Togu longo togya beha betona. Togu longo togya beha betona. Oh, togu longo togya beha betona. Sole togu doi oh hey. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Oh, togu longo dogya beha betona. Katai togu doi oh hey. Hey yo yo hey hey. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Oh, togu longo dogya beha betona. Katai togu doi oh hey. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Togu longo dogya beha betona. Oh, togu longo dogya beha betona. Sole togu doi oh yeah. Whoop whoop whoop. Now that song there, the first time I got it backwards, but so now I kind of straightened it out so that second verse is how it originally goes, you know. But that was made off of the words was added because of I'm gonna say that's what that's what he said, and that the tune there is an old ancient song, and it belonged to Sitting Bear, the Skoit single song. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah.